Good morning, everybody. By the look of it, let's just check to make sure we've got sound. Just switching on over to the other computer. Yeah, you can hear the ads that I get to hear. Oh, there we go. Yeah, we've got sound, we've got vision. And we've got Garry talking. Let's get going. Camera only this time. I pressed the right buttons. Good morning, everyone. How are you all today? It's another chilly day here in Western Australia. It was 6 Celsius when I got up this morning. Hopefully that won't affect my pens. One of the things I noticed a few weeks ago, when we had, let me just turn this around a bit, I'm a bit more central. We had a really cold day. It went down to, it was something stupid like 3 degrees. And I had problems with a load of my pens. So that's just something that I'm keeping an eye on with the weather. Let me pop on over to the comments. Marie, hello everybody who's joined us so far. Hope you're all doing well. Let me just see here. There should be a way. One of the things I'm trying to do is find a way to get the participants. But the participant list I see in YouTube doesn't really seem to show everybody. Hi, I love it, Unhealthy Levels of Matt. And welcome to Blonde Scales 1. Yeah, still hot there. It will start getting warmer, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I know I shouldn't really whinge about the weather. I mean, when you consider what we used to get when we were in the UK, it's actually quite warm still. Oh, my notes are going all over the place. Let me just fold them over. That'll help give them a bit there. So let's Blonde Scales 1, hi. Welcome to you. Hopefully I'm coming over loud and clear. What I thought would start off today, so I try and start off like with a discussion point, something like that. So what I thought is, I've got this pen here. This is a Jinhao X450. I've had it sat there in my line of things that I wanted to do a first impressions of since December. It was a price that it was a present my wife gave me during the Inkvent period last year. So what I do over the last couple of years, during December, I do a daily video as well as my normal videos where I open up that day's Inkvent calendar. But my wife also buys me an advent calendar, so I open that as well. And she also gets me a present for each day. I mean, usually they're small, cheapish, like, you know, this pen was $7. Fountain pen and stationery related. This was one of the ones she gave me last year. I ended up with about 10 pens. And the last of the ones that I've recorded only went out a couple of weeks ago. Because I had that many to go through. Well, Hodge, howdy, hello, welcome to you today. So what I thought I'd do, I've got the X450. I thought what would actually do a live first impressions. So let me just scoot on over and switch cameras. Now the lighting isn't exactly the same as you would see in my normal videos. Main reason for that, sorry, making sure I can see my notes for the ink. The main reason for that is in my normal videos, I'm able to set what's called a white balance. So I'm actually able to balance out what's coming off with the light, so it looks a bit better. With the app I use for my live streaming, I'm not able to do that. So we've got here the Jinhao X450. It's like a black and white striped pattern. I will move it up a little bit. So what have we got? We've got a dome at the top and a dome at the end. We've got there that Jinhao clip. Very, very stiff. You know, I can hardly shift that. Doesn't bother me too much because I don't really use the clip. The only time I use it is when it's in a pen case. With a cap, so we've got tapering out to, I would say, maybe a third of the way down. Then it seems to go that it's the same width. And I can feel that transition about here. Bottom of the cap, we've got the Jinhao, and then going around the back, we've got X450. Now, whilst I'm going through this, please drop into the chat any comments that you've got, and I'll try and answer the questions as they're coming in. I will try and keep an eye on it. Bottom of the cap, it is a step down. You do notice it because I'm looking for it, but I think in normal use, it wouldn't bother me. So we come down into the body. Body, same width to about 3/4 of the way down. We start to taper in until we get to this gold coloured band. And then, as we've already said, we've got the end cap. I do like this colouring. It's very, very simple. And it's driven me to my ink choice. So in here, I've got quite a dark ink, like a black, or maybe a dark grey or a black ink. I will be honest, I've cheated a little bit. The ink I'm using is from a sample, and it was the last bit of the sample. So I had to fill the converter using a blunt nose syringe. So I've already done that, and I've made sure that the ink is coming through. So the cap, it pulls off. This is one of the things I have to remember with these pens. The cap pulls off. I'm forever twisting them. And this one's not too bad, but some I end up untwisting the section from the body. So we've then got the section. I like the section on this. I mean, this isn't my first X450. It's got this little grip section there. I don't actually use it. I still don't mind it. I hold my pens right down near the bottom of the section. So right down near this lip here. But certainly for someone who's learning, you know, that's giving you a good guide point to where you should have your fingers. So a little bit like we see with the Safari. But I think I like this more because it's still got that round shape to the section. We've got a standard Jinhao nib. I do like the two-tone colour on, well, to be honest, on all nibs. And it always tickles me here where you see 18 kgp. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not gold-plated, but I think it is. I think, you know, I don't think there's any gold plating on it. So we've got a question over in the comments. Let me just get the mouse. Is it enamel coated? I'm not sure. Let me just move this up closer to the camera. It's definitely a metal pen. I would say it's a metal body. Whether it's enamel coated, the pen was $7, so I'm not 100% certain. I think it's some kind of, maybe, I want to call it a sticker. It's not a sticker, but I think it's some kind of wrap maybe. Although I can't see a seam, which on some of my other pens I can actually see the seam. So this one might not be. It's actually quite nice. I do quite like it. So yeah, not 100% certain whether it's enamel coated, but might be. Certainly looks nice. So anyway, yeah, there we've got the nib section. So we'll take not the section, the cartridge. As I say, I've filled the cartridge. Comes with a cartridge. It's one of the things I like with Jinhao pens. They always come with a cartridge. Oh, should I say a converter? I know there's a few of my more expensive pens where, you know, you're spending hundreds of dollars. They don't come with a converter. You've got to spend another $10 to get the converter. So what I've done on Friday is I clean the pen. So what I do is I just use my bulb syringe and I give it a good squirt through, get rid of any manufacturing gunk that may be left. Some pens, like the X159 that I've got, actually had ink in it because they'd tested it. So again, I get rid of hopefully all of that. And what is leaving me with is a nice clean pen with the cartridge. Not the cartridge. I don't know, why do I keep saying cartridge? With the converter, I use my blunt nose syringe with clean water and then rinse it out a few times. Once I've done that, I say I've already done this, but I've filled this with ink. I'll tell you the name of the ink in a second. I put it together. Then what I do is I prime the feed a little bit. So I will work this. I'm not going to twist it now, but I twist it a little bit to push the plunger down, which just forces ink then through into the nib. Main reason I do that is I want to, get the ink started as quick as possible. I could sit it and leave it there, and I've done that a few times with some pens. Leave it on the end so the nib's pointing down, but I find that can take quite a while to do. So there's the body. Let's swap on over. We'll do some size comparisons. So what you're seeing, this is what I normally do with my videos, but then I edit out a lot of these switches that I'm doing. So here's the two standard pens that I always use. I've got Pilot Metropolitan, Lamy Safari. Why I use these is I believe that most people either have or at least have seen or felt or used one of these two pens, so there's a little bit of an idea for the size. So we've got here, looking at this, we've got the same size. The Jinhao seems to be the slightly wider body of the three pens. Let's take the caps off. There we go. And then line the nibs up. Just grabbing something else which we'll jump to in a second. So with no, we're slightly off there we go. So lying up by the nibs, the Safari slightly longer, the Metropolitan about the same length. My poor nose is running terribly today, sorry about this. Number 6 size nib here on the X450. To be honest, I quite like the nibs, the medium nibs on all my other X450s. I'm not worried about changing them, but you can if you want to. Will the pen post? So we'll take a look at unposted. Unposted, that's actually quite nice in my hand. I don't use these pens posted. Can I post it? Well, it'll go on, but it doesn't feel very strong when it is. Let's try that one more time. So a couple of shakes. All right, that time won't do it. So it will post, but not very well. Right, let's pop the caps back on these. One thing I don't normally do in my first impressions, but I think I will today. I'm going to fetch in the scales of weighing. So there we go. So the full pen is 44 grams. Quite a weighty pen. Cap alone is 15 grams. That cap weighs more than some of my other pens in total. And then we've got 28 grams for the body. Remember, there's a more or less full cartridge in there, so I would guess that's maybe adding a gram to it. Let's get this out of the way and fetch in the notepad of testing. So my notepad of testing today, yes, I'm cheating. I'm using the bottom part of this. I'm trying to get as much use as I can from my books. This is a black and red. So this is one of the notepads that I get from Cult Pens usually. And it uses Oxford Optic paper, 90 GSM paper. I find this is a nice fountain pen friendly paper. I say the light is blowing out the lines. So this is a lined paper. If I maybe hold it up. No, you can't really. There you are. So it is a lined paper. Hopefully, though, that won't affect the writing. We'll see in a second, though. So here we've got the pen. Let me just move the mic. So we've got here a Jinhao X450 with a medium nib and it was $7 Aussie. When I quote prices, if we had to pay shipping on top, the price I quote is the price without shipping. Like this one, it was $7 including shipping. So unfortunately, I don't know how much to take out for shipping. So I'll just say what the full price was. But generally, a price will be without shipping. The ink, I need to get my notes here because I need to make sure I write it correctly. It was a sample that I had got, and it's by Tashia. Hopefully I pronounced that right. And I'm not going to pronounce these next two words correctly. It's Utamaro Uzumi. UMI. It's, I would say it's a dark grey ink. Let me just see again. Let me put my hand there. Almost black, but I think it's more of a dark grey than a black. Certainly where you can see there on the 450 and maybe on the second due in Uzumi, you can see some of the greys. On the Z, there's definitely a lot of grey coming out. Hopefully that comes over on the camera. Drying times. So we go immediate. Yeah, you can see there a lot of the grey. 10 seconds. $30. So this is where, again, on my normal videos, all this waiting around you don't see. Sorry about that. Yeah, you normally don't see all this waiting around because I edit it out and I just put in that push cut. I have a timer running over here on my computer, which is what I'm keeping an eye on. And that's, again, similar to what I do in my normal videos. So 30 seconds. Then we go for a 1 minute test. So whilst that's counting down, get that. Unhealthy levels of MAC. Any recommendations for where to get replacement nibs? So yeah, as Will Hodges said, number 6 nibs you can get from Goulet and there's certain other retailers in the States. You can get some from, I've got some from AliExpress. I've also got some from, there was a company in India. Where did I think it was on Etsy. Not sure about Pen BBS nibs. I've not tried a Pen BBS nib in one yet. I do have some Goulet nibs. I've got, I haven't bought anything from Anderson Pens yet. I really need to do that. I love listening to their podcast each week. Where else have I got nibs from? If you search around, you can find loads of places. Vary in price. So I think the cheapest I got was about $3 or $4. I think that was a Kaigaloo long knife nib. I've got that on a pen for a video I'm recording tomorrow. Let's see. Our minute's just finished. So after a minute there, yeah, we're plenty dry. All right, as I was saying, we'll get back to the review in a second. Is it this one? No, it's not that one. It's not that one. No, here we go. I think it's this one. Yeah, this is a Moonman M600S. You can hardly see it, but this has got like a long. This has got a long knife, a long knife and nib on it, and that gives. I can never what they call it. I think it's a bit like an architect, but it's not very big. And then we got. So we'll come back. So there we go. That's our drying time. So in terms of this as a combo, I think it'd be all right for note taking. 30 seconds, a minute to fully dry. A little bit on the long side, but this is using this optic paper, which I think's got a little bit of a coating on it. When I use my other notepads, which generally tend to be cheaper ones when I'm note taking, they tend to dry a lot faster. So I'll move the mic down to the page and hopefully you can hear the pen writing. I've got to be lucky. I've got to be honest. I've been lucky with Jinhao nibs. I've never really had a nib that's caused me any issues. This is nice and smooth. A little bit of audible feedback. And It's not smooth, not glassy smooth. There's a little bit of drag to the page. It doesn't feel rough, but yeah, it does feel quite nice. Will Hodge, yeah, it's a nice pen combo. I'm where possible, I like to match my ink with the pen body. You know, occasionally I do go a little bit mad, which you'll see in today's video where I'm doing a review of a blue pen and I've got a red ink in it. But generally I try to match them, and this is nice. As I say, I think this would be quite nice for note taking. So is there any line variation? So this is, there's no pressure on it. Now I add a bit of pressure. Does seem to give a slightly wider line, and there's no pressure. That's with, none, and with. So where I've added pressure, you can see on the downstrokes that slightly wider line, and there's not much difference between the downstrokes and the cross strokes. Flow, so this is going in one direction, and then I switch directions. So all in all, it's a nice pen. You know, it writes well. It's what I expect from a Jinhao X450. Just let me... Oh, I've lost my mouse. There we go, we've found her again. Yeah, so it's nice. I like the colour it's plain. I mean, I could put any colour ink in here that I want, and I might do that. But I've been looking for a nice sacrificial pen for black inks. I don't often use black. Looking at this, you know, I've got this grey ink in here. It's nice and dark. It's the last bit of a sample, so this will be it when this is empty. And then I think what I'll do is I might always leave this inked up, but with a black ink. I've got two black inks of choice. One of them is by a company based in Wales called Pure Pens, and they make a black ink called Welsh Gold. And why it's called Welsh Gold, obviously it's a black ink, and then in it it's got like a gold shimmer. My main black ink of choice is this one. This is Noodler's Heart of Darkness. I like this. I know it's a very thing where, you know, some people like Noodler's ink. I know there's been a lot of controversy, or some controversy, about his political views. As an ink, though, I quite like this. I love this label. So that's my first impressions there of the Jinhao X450. Let's go back to my face. I'll just swap my notepads over, ready for the next section. So I hope you found that of some interest. Again, if there's any questions that you've got about the combo, drop them in, and I will try and answer as we're going on. Hopefully this is not a bad sign, but my preview is frozen. No, it's just on my iPad. Let me just restart the app. I use the iPad. There's an extension of OBS which works on the iPad. And for some reason today it's playing up. Could be my fault. I use a test version of the iPad OS operating system. So Apple announced to developers about 3-4 weeks ago now, iOS and iPad OS 17, which is the version coming out, I would think, late September. And I've got, as a developer, I'm now working on my app. I'm just working on my last bit of my app for iOS 16, then I'm actually going to start converting it for iOS 17, maybe in 2 weeks' time. So I've got iOS 17 installed on my iPad, which is what lets me, trying to get my face central, lets me check it all out. Have you, Will Hodge? I could do with a bigger desk, I can tell you. I'm running out of space to move my mouse. We got Will Hodge. Have you seen the new Ultra Black from? I haven't, but I'm on my wife won't let me buy any ink at the moment. I mean, the black I've got, I've used about that much. Oh, it says, let's get the right camera. I've used about that much out of it so far, and I've had it about 2.5 years. I've got a bottle of Leonardo black as well, which was included when I bought my Leonardo Momento Zero Grande. So I've got that much black ink at the moment. I've got to be honest, I don't think I'm ever going to use it. Welcome, Pedro, all the way from Portugal. Nice to have you along. And Unhealthy Levels Matte Platinum True Kuro Black. He's just heard about it. Seems very tempting. Yeah. I say, to me, I'm not a black person. I love colour. And if you'd have told me that before I started, I'd have said, nah, you're daft. Black or blue, that's the only choices. And now one of my favourite inks, or my favourite ink colour, is brown. Okay, we'll swap on over and we'll go back. Woolhodge Noodlers make great black ink. Polar Black. Oh, that sounds actually quite interesting. I know they do some waterproof inks. I'll have to test Heart of Darkness. I've not really seen if it's waterproof or not. Just pop these pens out of the way. Trying to clear a bit of space. Yeah, what I've got is I do have a Logitech mouse. This is the I can't remember the name. It's on the bottom. This is the MX Master 3. Love it. I've actually got right in front of me. I've got the trackpad. I just find it's easier to use this, but because I've got my computer pulled forward so I'm close enough to the camera. I've got my, although I say the table, what I've got, I don't know if I've ever shown this. This is what I actually use to film my videos on. This is a large chopping board that I got from a shop called Big W, which is like a big box store. It's got like a nice, I don't know, I want to call it a bamboo type colour. All the rest of the wooden stuff I've got in my room, like you can see behind me over here, there, right behind me. I like bamboo. Yes, I've got the white units from IKEA, but I do like the bamboo look. So this is what I use. Before that, I used to use a cork board that I got from IKEA, but that got stained with ink, and so now I've got this. I like this. It's still got some ink stains on it, but it does clean a lot. Pedro, does your collection going towards the most expensive pens, or do you still go for more cheap Chinese pens? Generally, I'm going to say it's a mix. So up till last year, I would say I was mainly buying Chinese pens. I was buying some expensive pens. Usually they were gifts from my wife. So like 2 years ago, she got me a Pilot Custom 823. Christmas this year, she got me the Pilot E95S and also a Waterman Karen. I would say roughly 80% of my collection are Chinese pens. This year, I haven't bought any Chinese pens yet. I'll be doing something about that at the end of this month. So I'm planning to do an order from AliExpress. I'll say towards the end of this month. But it'll be when the next lot of YouTube money comes in. So what I do with the YouTube money, I get a payment roughly every 2 months. And that all goes towards buying stuff. So the first one that came in, which was, I think it was January this year, I bought an Australian pen. So this year I'm focusing mainly on Australian pens. So let me get it and show you. So the first one I got was, is it in here? Yeah. I got this pen. This is a Just Turnings handmade pen. I think it was either 170 or 180 Aussie dollars. So that was the first one. Then the next payment that I got, let me just pop this to one side, put that back, is I got another Australian made pen, which is this. This is a Platypus Pens Model 10. I said this, the last payment I got, I actually bought a whole load of paper. You'll see the first review of one of those coming out actually on Tuesday. I say this month, with the next payment, I'm intending to buy a load of Chinese pens. So I'm hoping to get some of the pens I know my wife will commandeer ready for ink vent, but I'm hoping to get maybe 6-ish pens. That's what I'm looking at the moment. I want to get a couple more X159s. I want to get an X350 and I want to get an X850, I think it is, the new gin house. And maybe a fully Wen pen and possibly a pen BBS. But I need to see what the prices are when I come around to doing the order. And then the next payment, which will not be for about 3 months, there's another Australian pen manufacturer that I've found. They're based, I think they're based in Sydney. Like the look of the pens that he's doing. I think it's called the Pen Bloke. So I intend to get one of his pens to try then. So this year the focus is on Australian made pens. And then, yeah, as I said, there'll be at least one, if not a second later in the year, AliExpress order. So hopefully that's answered your question. Let's swap on over, he says, moving everything out of the way. And we'll go back to the table. So here's my notepad for today. This is a Midori cotton pad. So it's got a nice texture to it. So the pens I've been using this week, he says, fetching his notes out so he can have them in front of him so he can make sure he says the right ones. Some of these pens I won't be able to show you writing because they're now empty. And that's the first one. The first one is that Pilot E95S. Very nice pen. It's a pocket pen, but once you post it, it's a really nice size. 14 karat gold nib. I fill this using a cartridge. As you can see, it's now empty. I've cleaned it all out. So when I select the ink, I just fill the cartridge with a blunt nose syringe. Give it about 30 seconds, and by the time 30 seconds has gone up, it's usually worked its way through and it'll start writing. So in there I had Diamine Pick Me Up. That was a really wet combo. Second pen, so this is Monday's pen, was a pen BBS 308. This was the pen that I did the first impressions on Sunday. So let me just scoot on over, I can write with this one. So we've got here a pen BBS 308 with a fine nib, and the ink in here is by Cult Pens, and it's deep dark green. Love the name of this ink. This pen was $28, 28 Aussie dollars. I didn't tell you about the E95S, that was 195 Aussie dollars. Nice pen, I like this mojito colour. I say, I love that green. On Tuesday, well, that was the Kaweco Classic Sport. This is in this, I think it was just called white. It might have been coconut, I can never remember. Now, it does come with an ink cartridge. And I'm actually using the ink cartridge in here. And again, what I do is I just refill it. Again, using that blunt nose syringe. I do have another spot, and in there I've got the Kaweco converter. It's ever so teeny tiny. So just going to get rid of this comment off the screen. I thought I'd removed it. There we go. Doesn't take a lot of ink. Again, posted. This is a nice one. So this is a Kaweco Sport. It's got the 1.1 stub nib. I've got to be honest, this is one of my favourite stub nibs. The whole pen was $34. The ink in here is by Diamine. And it's Yule Log. Love the colour of this ink. It's a nice pale brown. Not sure if it'll come over on here. But I can see on the K and the A. I'm trying to catch it, see if I can on the light. I think it's got a copper shimmer to it. Hopefully that'll come over. And we've got a nice shading as well. So that was Tuesday's pen. Wednesday, because this was from the video that came out actually on Tuesday. We've got Platypus pens, Model 10, which has got a broad Yoho nib in it. The ink I've got in here is by Diamine, and it's Elf. Gorgeous green ink, lots of shading in that. And there we've got Diamine Elf with that pen. Thursday's pen is the Fully Wen 017. Bright pen, really bright coloured pen. Really like this Fully Wen pen, and I intend to get some more, not this model, but some different models. They're one of the pens I'm looking for when I do the Chinese order. So we've got here a Fully Wen 017 with a medium nib. The ink in here by Diamine, and it's Celebration. It's an unusual coloured ink for me. It's not an ink that I would normally go for, but I thought, you know, we've got lots of like orangey, pinky oranges in here. A bit like a salmon pink maybe is a good way to describe it. Now, you can't really see in here. Oh, let me cover it up. But again, we do have a shimmer. Not really that visible at the moment though. One of the things I do find with the shimmer, and it's the same with virtually all my pens and shimmer inks, they do tend to clog up the feed, so I don't often use them because I have loads of problems. And a prime example of that is the next pen, which is from the pens I used on Friday. I actually used two of them because this one ran out as I was doing my writing samples. This is a Monteverde Ritma. In there I had Diamine Mistletoe. I haven't put a couple of prices on. Let me go back. I don't know. I should be fired. I'm not doing my job properly. The Platypus pens, right, it's 170, or was 170 Aussie dollars when I bought it. The Fully Wen pen was 38 Aussie dollars. This Monteverde Ritma, that was 77 Aussie dollars. It's a heavy pen. It's a metal pen. Nice chunky pen. It's got a Yoho nib, a broad nib. I like the fact that it's black. I've cleaned this one out, which is why I won't write with it. I've had two fills of this in this last month. I started off with Olive Swirl. That was I think they called it a chameleon ink. Was not very nice. After I'd written about a page, it would stop going. I'd have to prime the feed. I think it was just the shimmer blocking up here in the feed. Once I'd finished that, I pulled the nib and the feed. I ran them through my sonic cleaner on a 6-minute setting. Put it all back together. Put in that Diamine Mistletoe. Zero issues. So that's why I think it was to do the ink. The other pen I used on Friday is the big boy, the Maranga Model 5. To give you an idea, here it is against the Ritma. And here it is against the Metropolitan. If I take the cap off, it's still longer than the Metropolitan. It's a big pen. It's a chunky pen. It's a pen you know you're writing with. It's actually quite light though. And it's a pen I really enjoy. So we have here a Ranga Model 5, which has got a broad nib. It's a broad Ranga nib. Ranga do their own nibs. They also offer Yoho, Bock, and I'm not 100% certain. I think sometimes they have Schmidt nibs. They also have the choice of metals. So this one's steel, but I believe you can get gold and titanium nibs as well. So let's remember and put the price. This was 142 Aussie dollars when I bought it. May have gone up by now. The ink is Diamine Elf. And it looks very similar in terms of colour and shading as what we see with the Platypus pens. The final pen that I've used this week It's the Opus 88 Chloro. This was yesterday's pen. This is blue and teal. So the blue, that's ebonite, and the teal is plastic or resin. I believe it's called a Japanese eyedropper. I just call it an eyedropper. I unscrew the section, then I fill the body with my ink. So this is an Opus 88 Chloro with a broad nib. This was $120 when I bought it. The ink by Diamine, and it's Jack Frost. This is an ink I've struggled with. I've tried it in loads of pens, and when I've seen reviews of it, people have been going on about, the red sheen, the blue shimmer. I never see it until I put it in this pen. In this pen, it seems to perform really well. Let me see. I know I'll have to try and shade it again. Definitely see some of that shimmer in there, and I can see the sheen. Really, really performs really well on this. And when I look at my practice notes, today was the Fatal Sport again. On here, you can really see it. And this is just a cheap notebook that I got. Anchor, so it's made and sold by Kmart. 70 GSM paper. Cheaper. I think it was about $5 for two, something like that, or maybe $5 for just the one. But it really does show the ink very well. So that's the pens that I've been using this week. We move on over again, back to the computer. Let's look through the comments. So, Will Hodge, sorry, I found my pen collecting goes in different directions. For some years it was vintage, now more from custom pen turners with the colourful acrylics. Yeah, I was very similar. So this is really my 4th year back at collecting pens. Let me get the mic so it points to my mouth rather than away. Up till really, I'd say the start of this year, it's been very eclectic. It's been a bit of this, bit of that. One pen from this manufacturer, one pen from the other. Ones I have liked, I say, is the Pilot Custom 823 is my most expensive pen I have. That was a gift from my wife. So the Pilot Custom Heritage 92, don't have it handy at the moment. That was a pen that I got as my first gold nibbed pen. I've got one platinum, one sailor with gold nibs. Got them to try them. I say most of my pens, the Chinese pens. When I do my pens in use each month, what I try to do is it so I'm selecting 3 pens that are under 100 Aussie dollars and 3 that are over, because I think that gives a nice balance and lets me get to use all of my pens and show them love. Will Hodge, love the fit of the cap on the E95. It is. Let me just fetch this up to the mic and hopefully just the way it clicks, and it just feels there's a little bit of friction, but not enough that it feels like it's scratching. Ever so nice. When your wife buys you a pen, do you tell her what you want, or does she guess? I've got to be honest, when my wife buys me a pen, it's me buying it. I get her to sit with me. My wife is, in terms of technology, I'm trying to think how to put it politely. She knows how to turn the telly off. She's not very technologically minded. So anything which is done on a computer is done by me. So yes, I do know roughly what she's getting me. What I've gotten to now is on AliExpress, I've got her where she can actually put things onto the wish list. So she does sort of pick the things she'd like me to get, but we do go through that together, because purely the fact, I've got to be there to order it. Otherwise, I've got no idea what we'll get. Blonde Scales 1. So far, my collection consists of pens spent less than 100 US for. Yeah, most of my pens are like that. When I went through all my pens the other week, I would say 70% are under $100. I say in a lot of my videos, for me, the only thing I need from a fountain pen is 2 things. it's got to enable me to get ideas out of my head and onto paper, and it's got to do it in a way that I enjoy. And, you know, my $38 fully when, I love it. $34 Kaweco Sport, love it. It's one of my favourite pens. Equally, my $400 Pilot Custom 823, love that as well. So I do try, I say most of my pens are cheaper, well, not cheaper, under $100, but I think out of 120 pens, I think it was 20 of them were over $100. That's real unhealthy levels of matte. I went from Safaris and Twisby Ecos to a few gold nibs, but now seem to be interested in Estes and Benus. Yeah, I've got one Benu. Again, it's not handy. That's the Dragon's Blood, the Talisman Dragon's Blood. I call it my Christmas pen because it's got the green and red sparkles on a black background. I do keep looking at Benus. To me, they're just too... they're too in your face. You know, even this fully went, as much as I love it, it's really in your face. It's not a pen I could take if I was going to go to a business meeting. Whereas, you know, just pulling from random, I'd quite happily take this one, this Ritma. And the fully one was half the price of the Ritma as well. But yeah, I started off with mainly with Ecos. I've never really liked the Safari. I'm recording a video tomorrow with... I just pull these out. So I'm recording a video tomorrow with these pens, plus another one which I can't remember where it is. Oh, the Sport, that's why. And the video I'm recording is I'm calling my starter pens. So what I've done is I've picked 5 pens that I say good, I think maybe good starter pens, and then I've got another 2 in there. They would have been in that 5, but the Metropolitan is one. I couldn't find anywhere which sells it now. Then the other one which would have been in that 5 that isn't is the Parker Jota. The only reason it's not in the 5, the nib on it isn't the Parker nib, so I didn't think it was fair. BJ, that's a great, yeah, frosted coconut. I thought it was. I just couldn't 100% remember. I do have it in my app what it is, but my brain has a habit of going, pardon me. My brain has a habit of going dead when I'm talking. Pedro, yeah, got one of the fully went. Really pleased with the fully went. And as I say, I was really surprised. I was doing a little bit of research into them. They've got a website, very, very slow website. But I think it was 3 pages of different models, so they actually do quite a lot. How much was the Platypus? So yeah, the Platypus, that was $170. It's 3D printed. I would say it's definitely a fairly unique pen. Lovely texture. Not sure if it comes up. There's the herringbone pattern. Very, very tactile. Really nice. Woolhodge used pens with ebonite feeds with a shimmer ink. Yeah, I've got to be honest, I don't think any of my pens have got an ebonite feed. I know you can buy them. Is it FP Nibs or somewhere like that which sells them? I just haven't bothered. I need to get some though, because I'd love to get some of them shimmer inks out and start using them more. Blonde Scales one, that Ranga might be too big. It is. It's a chonking pen. It's a massive pen. You know, I don't have small hands, but it's still a real big fit. It's nice. It's comfortable. Very wide section. I don't really know anybody with small hands that I can get to try and use it. Grapes, hi Gary, hello, welcome to the stream. Pedro has a Hub Opus 88 transparent, loves it. The only thing is the amount of turns it takes to take the cap off. Oh, let's see with this. There's half, that's 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. About 3.25 turns, so that is a lot. My ideal sweet spot, personally, that's about 1.5 turns. Let me go. Just BJ, you can get Diamine Polar Glow, just like Jack Frost but without the shimmer, and still has the sheen. I've seen, is it Pens and Tea? She uses Polar Glow quite a lot. I would like to get it. At the moment, I'm on an ink bound freeze. The only ink I'm likely to be allowed to buy this year is the Ink Vent calendar from Diamine. I know they're out for pre-order at the moment. I will pre-order mine, but 9 times out of 10, it's more than likely I'll be buying it or ordering it from Cult Pens. So I need to be able to find some other things to add into the order to take it over the amount that's needed for free shipping. You know, I don't like paying for shipping if I can avoid it. Yeah, grapes. Bought a cheaper notepad from Walmart, and there's no bleed through. I really do think it depends where you get them from. Very pleased with this one. I do have some inks that bleed. Let me see if I can just go back a couple of days. I can show you one. Oh, come on. I know exactly where. Here we are. Here we go. This was the Pilot E95S with Diamine Pick Me Up. Now I know the next page there's some green writing, but you can see there every single word has shown through. Thankfully, the green writing has disguised most of it. I've got nothing against cheap notebooks. For most of my note taking, I use a cheap notebook. That's the one I'm using for my practice writing tests. I've got another one. This is what I'm using for my actual note taking at the moment. You know, the inks show up all right. When I'm taking notes, I'm not overly worried about getting much in the way of, you know, performance of the ink. So I'm not worried about sheen. It's only notes for myself, so it doesn't bother me the fact it's on cheap paper. Pedro, ha 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 ha. BJ Journal. Yeah, I've got the journal I use at the moment is actually what you'll be seeing reviewed on Tuesday. It's a Leuchtturm. This one, it's 120 GSM paper. So I've recorded that, and that, as I said, goes out on Tuesday. There's the inks I was using there for my sample. What I do in that video, I actually compare it against the Leuchtturm bullet journal that I have, which was the 80 GSM paper. Blonde scales 1, as long as they work and you're happy with them, all is good. Exactly, that's what I say. You know, I've got my pen BBS that I've used this week. If I go to my, very quickly, you know, this is my pen case. I got a $2 pen, Jinhao 992. It was $2. I bought all the transparent colours, and I always have at least one inked up. Brett Clark, she knows how to turn the telly off. She does. That's about the only thing I know. I shouldn't be nasty to her, but yeah, she's not very technological. Excuse me a second. Blonde scales. My only Lamy is an All-Star. I got it cheap from Cult Pens. I do have the Lamy Safari, as I showed earlier. I use it in all my pen comparisons. I do also have an All-Star, and I've got to be honest, I prefer the All-Star to the Safari for using it. I've got the Safari inked up at the moment, but that's because I'm suggesting it as a starter pen. Walmart pen gear journals with heavyweight paper from Vietnam are excellent. Yeah, I think that's the same with a lot of places. Once you get over the fact that it's coming from one of these supposed big box stores, you know, or discount stores, when you go away from that, they're actually quite good at a lot of these notebooks. BJ uses Lamy nibs on the Jinhao 80 to get away from that Lamy triangle grip. It's not the grip which bothers me with the Safari. I actually quite like the grip. I just don't know what it is with it. I just don't get on with it. It's got a broad nib on it. I like broad nibs. It's very light. I think that might be the issue. Is it just feels maybe too light for the length. Unhealthy level smart. Wonder if the Ranga is much larger than the X159. Let's check that out. Get the right box out. I do have a 159. Here we go. Or should I say an X159? I do have some 159s again. as well. Right, so the Jinhao X159 Ranger Model 5. Maybe what I'll do, let's get this out of the way. Let's go over and we'll look at it down on the table instead. That might be a better way. So there we've got them side by side. So that's with the cap on. If I take the caps off, so yes, the Ranger is a number 6 nib. You can get a number 8 size nib where we've got a number 8 on the 159. Trying to get it to stop so they won't roll. They don't want to sit still. That's it. And there we are, unposted. Not going to attempt to post them because it makes them both too long. Go back to the camera. So hopefully that's answered that for you. Yeah, Blonde Scales 1, yeah, the free shipping. You know, shipping to Australia, not overly expensive, but it really adds to the cost. And if I'm going to spend that extra money, I'd rather spend the extra money and get something for it. Any experience with Midori paper? Yeah, the paper I used today was Midori cotton pad. It's the only one I've got. I like it. It's got a nice texture to it. I will get some more Midori paper in the future. It's just, at the moment, I don't plan to. Yeah, so BJ just really saying that. I was writing on that earlier. BJ, you can't adjust the grip of the nib in relation to the triangle grips on the Lamy, which is a deal breaker. Again, it might be unconsciously, maybe that's what's putting me off. Unhealthy levels, Matt. Yeah, that Ranger. I often refer to it as the big boy. I did it we did a Marvel themed Pens in Use month a couple of weeks ago, well, a couple of months ago. In there, I associated this with the Hulk, and that's another name that I now use for this. But yeah, still the big boy. I say it's just massive, you know. And I thought the X159 was big. So that's gone through the questions so far. So remember, drop any questions. I'll come back and do a final roundup after we've looked at what's been going on in video land with me. So last week we had the Pen BBS 308. I had the photos come out on Sunday. I had my Platypus first impressions. That was on Tuesday. Friday, we did the halftime report, so that's halfway through the month as I put this out, and that's where I say about how I've been getting on with the pens, what my thoughts have been, any issues with them. Then in a couple of weeks' time, we'll have the wrap up, and that's where I actually rank the pens that I started with. Yesterday on my Tricky Little Questions channel, we had the July quiz. So that came out yesterday. Videos coming up. Today's video, this afternoon, will be a fountain pen focus on this. This is the Visconti Breeze. And this is in Blueberry. I was a little bit disappointed with this pen when I first got it. It was a lot of money for what, if I'd have been buying from China, I would have expected to pay maybe $30. It's a nice pen to use though, so it does make up for that. But yeah, I was a little bit surprised when it first arrived. On Tuesday, I've got my first impressions of the Conklin Durograph. That's this one here. There we go. This is quite a pretty pen. So yeah, be giving you my first impressions on that pen. On Friday, as I've already shown you, I'll be putting out my first impressions, my thoughts on the Leuchtturm 120 GSM paper. Next Saturday on the fountain pen, no, it isn't. Next Saturday on Tricky Little Questions. Quite an interesting video. This was in answer to a question I was asked by a commenter. Sorry. And they asked, why does a hurricane spin counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere but clockwise in the southern hemisphere? So it's a video, I think it's about 8 minutes long, where I answer that and I look into the Coriolis effect and how that drives that. Then next Sunday, my fountain pen focus will actually be on the Parker Jotter, but Parker Jotter with a twist. As I say, it's not got a Parker nib on it. I lost the Parker nib down the drain. I now have a sink trap on there, so it won't happen again. So what it is, it's a Parker Jotter with a Kaweco 1.1 nib. This week's book, so finished off The Colour of Magic on Sunday last week. I'm now reading The Light Fantastic by Terry Pratchett. That's the second book. This is part of my reread of all of his books. I'm about, 3/4 of the way through-ish. One of the things, it's been quite interesting. The Colour of Magic, it was more like a collection of short stories. Yes, they were focused on the same two characters, but they were all like short stories and it was split up like that. Whereas The Light Fantastic, it's more like it's one story. Again, just focusing mainly on the two characters and their adventures, but it's all moving in one direction. Whereas in The Colour of Magic, it was if yes, it's same characters, yes, it's same journey, but completely, no consistent through line throughout the whole of the book. So I'm actually quite enjoying this one now. When this is finished, I'll move on to book number 3, which off the top of my head, I can't remember what it is. It's on my bookcase though. I say I've got all of these. 80% of them are in paperback form. And then I've got some which I got either on the Kindle or audiobooks, because when I got them, I was doing a lot of driving, so I listened to them on an audiobook. But I'm looking forward to reading all of those. It's going to take me, I would say, maybe a couple of years, because I'm not going to read them constantly. So I'm going to read another one after this, and then I might go back for a Vera book, or I've got another fantasy series that I'm trying to read, and I've got stuck on one book, so I might try and finish that off. Pedro, back to the comments. Do you have a Moon Man A1? Yep, I've got. It's away in my box. I've got the A1. It's got the extra fine nib. Not 100% happy with that. Might see if I can change that. I know you can get the is it the palette vanishing point units, but if I'm going to do that, I don't know. I might buy a full vanishing point. I don't have one at the moment. One of the things I've found is at the bottom of the pen where the nib comes out, the door is trapped open. So I do find that that's causing the nib to dry out a bit as well. When it writes, it's very, very smooth. It's actually a really pleasant writing experience. I don't mind the body. I got the clipless version. I think if the clip would have been there, that would have got in my way. So that's why I went clipless. Grapes upset with Visconti. Yeah, it was purely the price. The actual pen itself, beautiful to write with. Really enjoy writing with it. It's just that initial shock. I was expecting when I was paying, I can't remember, it was about, I haven't got it in front of me. I'm going to say it was about 180 Aussie dollars, something like that. It's contained in the video that'll come out later on. I was expecting something which didn't look what I could only describe as cheap when I first saw it. It's grown on me. I like it. I do like the material. I think it's nice. I don't like this magnetic clip. Oops. He says dropping the thing, so there it just pulls it on. I don't like the idea of having a magnet in a pen because it means I cannot put it in my pocket. I have a pacemaker and I can't have anything magnetic near it. So this limits it. So if I wanted to put it in my pocket, I just couldn't. BJ, if you like the 1.1 on the Quaker, probably like Pilot Plumix. I haven't got a Plumix. I've got some Pilot Parallels. Don't often use them. They're more for, actually I need to get them inked up soon. My wife makes cards, like Christmas cards, and then I'll ink it up to do the writing in them. I will have to try out a Plumix because I need some more what I'm going to call starter pens, because when I was going through my list of starter pens for the video tomorrow, it was a little bit limited. I say, like the Metropolitan, I couldn't find them for sale anywhere. Blonde Scales 1, the Pilot VP is on a wish list. Yeah, I'm not sure about the VP. It's the clip which puts me off. That's why I don't know. I need to think about it. I think if I was going to spend the money for a vanishing point, I would maybe look at saving a bit more for, I think it's the 743, the Pilot Custom 743. I think they're the same ones that use the same nib as the 823, but they're cartridge converter, whereas the 823 is that vacuum filler. So any other comments, please drop them down below. We'll give it a minute or so and then wrap this up. We've been going now for nearly an hour and 10 minutes. Do you know, when I get started talking, you can't shut me up. Just leave a few more seconds. I've just seen my hand waving, so now I know that. Oh, there we go. There's about a 30-second delay from me talking to actually appearing on the stream. I've got over on my left-hand side, I've got another computer which has got the actual stream running on it. So it's a bit weird because I can see myself on there, but I've got to turn around to see that. Okay, so Blonde Scales believe that Goulet have Metropolitans. Pedro bought 2 Marchon M400s and really love them. They're on my list from AliExpress as well. I may get one of them to try. I love the M800s. I've got one M600S, which I showed earlier. Yeah, I really like the look of the M400 as well. They're like a dream. Blue Galaxy with a white cap. That sounds nice. Grapes, thanks for showing off broad nibs. When I first got back into this, again, going back 3-4 years, I was mainly using fine and extra fine nibs with a couple of mediums. As I've gone on, I'm finding I really like broad nibs, and most of the pens I buy nowadays, if I can get with a broad nib, I do. I've got a few stub nibs, and I'm actually getting quite into them. But I think with the stub nibs, you've got to be a bit careful. I said the one on the Kaweco, absolutely lovely. I've got another one on a Leonardo Ferrari, and that catches the paper terrible. Now, I don't want to spend too much time trying to work on it because I'll remove the stub nib to get rid of that catch. Because I think I'll remove the stub properties trying to get rid of that catchiness. So that's something I need to work on over time. Okay, that's the last of the comments at the moment. So thank you everybody for joining me today. Hope you've enjoyed the chat. I say I've got quite a few videos coming out next week. And I haven't worked out what my topic is going to be next Sunday when we meet. So if there's anything that you would like me to discuss, drop it. You can drop it in this chat because I do leave it open for a few minutes after I finish, or drop a comment on a video of things you'd like me to talk about. One of the things I'm trying to do with a lot of my videos, yes, a lot of them at the moment they're based on ideas that I have, but I'd love to get other people's ideas, things you'd like me to talk about, just so it keeps it interesting for everybody. BJ, the plumets nib interchange can be swapped with the nibs on the Metropolitan and the Kakuna and Pereira. Brilliant, thanks for letting us know that. Blonde Scales, have a great week. Will Hodge, bye and be safe. Pedro, great, goodbye. Thank you everybody, and I'll talk to you again soon.